make sure it's going on.
Yeah, man.
And welcome to this week's edition of Quoth the Raven, Louis-Bright-RavenS2Ep30. I'm your host, Louis-Bright-RavenS2Ep30, 28-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, and horror, role-playing games, and other entertainment. Tonight's guests are Bob Frantz,
Yeah.
writer, co-creator of METALSHARK BRO, and Jeffrey, not Jeremy, I mistyped that, Jeffrey Haas, who's a writer and co-creator of MALEK, Reigning Devil. And we might have another guest in here shortly. We're hoping. But first off, let's get our intro information out of the way. I always do this at the beginning of the shows, gentlemen. And that is, whoops, there we go. Notice, in accordance with the new COPPA regulations, this episode, Quoth the Raven, is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we will feature is kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address and educate older teens and adults to inform them of said content for them to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well, rated TV 16 and up. Whoop, there we go. Normally, we usually go to question and answers as our format. But since Bob has a limited time tonight, we're going to go straight to reviewing things, I believe. Oh, okay. Just checking my Facebook. Something might come up there real quick. So I'm going to go straight into the files. And we're going to talk about METALSHARK BRO, Volume 1. I just got this yesterday. Here's my copy. Got it last night.
You actually have the physical copy of it?
Yeah, I got the physical copy of it last night.
That's cool.
It came in at like 4:30 p.m. from when they shipped it to this, when it arrived at the store yesterday.
What'd you order it from Scouts.com?
No, I got it from Diamond.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. That's awesome. Because it's pretty close. I want to say it was sold out for a while, so they must have got some.
They're very low on stock.
All right. That's unfortunately that's what you want to hear as a creator.
Yeah.
Like they're low on stock. That's awesome. Nobody can get it. Oh no, nobody can get it. It's like it's a double-edged sword.
Yes. But anyway, this is co-written by Bob and Kevin Cuff, who may show up tonight, might not. Just depends on his situation. He's working. He's dealing with some family matters at the moment.
Not anything of dire
need. No.
Yeah, because when you say like family matters, that is always like, oh my God, something's terribly wrong. But no.
They're talking about the school situation with COVID-19 and stuff.
Yes,
that's what they're talking about.
Life, bro, life. They're having life conversations.
Yes. And artist is Walter Ostley, who unfortunately was not available this evening. The letter editor is Chaz Pangburn.
Yes.
I call it a horror comedy adventure.
I think that fits.
Okay. Or comedy and dark horror, types thing. But anyway, the ISBN number is 978-1-949-514-13-1. And what it's about is an ordinary shark stumbles onto Satan's nephew when he eats a human who's sworn his soul to Satan's cause. He is transformed into an anthropomorphic shark bro. That's a humanoid shark with a temper and a biting wit as gnarly as his jagged teeth. And he is tasked with collecting the souls who have sworn their allegiance to Satan. The only problem is he wants to be a normal shark again. Can he fulfill a task and regain his normal life? Or will he be forever doomed to hunt souls and service to hell for all eternity?
Listen to that.
I recommended it for ages 16 and up. Is that basically the age group you were thinking?
Yeah. It's definitely like we've had kids come by the table that are, 10 or 11. Can I read this? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't think so.
If your parent says yes, maybe.
Yeah, and if the parents will be like, well, they like Deadpool and they read that stuff, then I'm a little bit more. But I would not. If a kid came over to my table at a show solo and was like, I want to buy this, I'd be like, yeah, kid, I don't think so. You got to ask your parents first.
There you go.
As a parent of a 10-year-old, I have a soon-to-be 10-year-old daughter and a soon-to-be 8-year-old son. If they brought home a book like this, I'd be pretty mad.
Fair enough. I gave it a 4 out of 5 star rating.
What? No.
Yep.
I'm outraged.
Yeah. So, let's have you tell us a little bit more about what it's about, though.
METALSHARK Bro is simple, man. Like it's a simple tale of revenge, and that's basically it. I mean, there are 15, 18 story types created for all of mankind, and this is just a simple story of revenge. You said it in your open. METALSHARK Bro was created because a shark ate a guy who sold his soul to Satan. So Satan's douchey nephew, who we've kind of equated to like a David Spade. If David Spade and Guy Fieri had a kid, it would be Beelzebub, who is Satan's nephew. So it's a nepotism hire, obviously. And he says, hey, man, you ate a bro, so we're going to turn you into a bro. So he turns the shark into this anthropomorphic shark guy. And so METALSHARK Bro doesn't want to be an anthropomorphic shark guy. He wants to just be a shark. So Satan's nephew tells him, well, if you go out and you do these tasks for me, I'll change you back. And he says, okay, cool. So he goes on this brutal and bloody kind of murdering spree where he kills all kinds of randos. And then at one point, the end of issue 1, he tussles with a goat wizard who is just completely inspired by Jimmy Page's character from Song Remains the Same. I don't know if you're a Led Zeppelin fan, but I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. And we kind of borrow little bits and pieces of Song Remains the Same. Like if you know the film, because it's
I got it.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. Like the idea of METALSHARK Bro climbing this mountain is Jimmy Page climbing the mountain to get to the wizard guy. So I mean, it's wonderful. So he gets up there and then he does all this stuff, and then Beelzebub tricks him, so he swears bloody revenge against his creator. And then in the process, he gets sent to another realm where he has to free himself from there. And there's ninja nuns and giant robots. And Kevin and I just kept trying to push the limits of what we wanted to do with this book, if that makes sense. Like Walter, we pitched the idea to Walter, who was instantly in on it. He's like, I like this. He got the joke because, believe it or not, there are people, Lewis, who don't get it. Like they just look at this and go, this is stupid. And they quickly move on. But it kind of resonates with the people that get it, really like it, which has been very fun. It's been a very fun journey for us. But yeah, man, so Walter got it instantly and we just kind of went from there. And it's been a beautiful marriage of silly pictures and silly words.
Yeah. Well, we were talking briefly about that. When I said I saw what I thought was a loose end, you said you already had an idea for it.
Oh yeah.
But I noticed, when the guy that METALSHARK Bro eats as the shark,
yes,
he's part of this band and all the members, and there was these 2 members that made this, and the guy fell in. I thought, okay, well, they all as a band probably made the deal with the devil.
Yes,
not just the one.
Yes.
So it's like, so when he ate the guy that fell in the water, that broke the pact, and
it's true.
And that would mean that the other guys, their careers are failing. And they're going to want revenge on the shark.
I told you, man, we were talking about this beforehand. Write up a pitch and send it to us. And if we like it, we'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I just, like I said, it's funny. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that I saw from a lot of 60s metal and 60s and early 70s visual designs that are tied into that early heavy metal magazine.
Yes.
Or not the magazine, but the musical style, like Ira, the character with the wings.
Yeah, it's an eyeball with wings. Kevin and I came up with the idea initially because I've told the story like 1,000 times, but it's a really fun story to tell. I was doing a comic show in Hampton, Virginia, which is about 9.5 hours away from Cincinnati, Ohio. I used to live in the Hampton Roads region of Virginia. So if you know the area, I lived there for quite some time. So it's an excuse for me to go home, see some friends, hang out, have a good time. So I was doing that, and I was driving back to Cincinnati, and on my way, I was listening to classic rock radio. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and the DJ came on, and he was like, all right, that was AC/DC. I don't know if you guys saw the story in the news, but it's real crazy, man. Scientists put speakers in the water to see how sharks react to the tunes. And it turns out sharks love metal. All right, Tom Petty's coming up next. And I called Kevin instantly because I was so silly and so giggly feeling. And I was like, dude, sharks like metal. Sharks like metal. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I said, sharks like metal, Metal Shark Bro. So we just created this character and we wrote the whole first arc on my way back to Cincinnati. He was a Coca-Cola representative at the time, so he had a Bluetooth in, and we just talked to each other that day for like 7 hours on my way back to Cincinnati about this book. And by the time I had gotten home, we had the whole first arc outlined. And it was just a really kind of natural, progressive thing. It was just, how much can we make the other person giggle?
Right.
And that's what we knew, an idea that we would keep. Like somebody would throw something out and we would start giggling. And then so yada, yada, yada. So Kevin and I were talking about it. He's like, you know what Metal Shark Bro needs is a sidekick. And I was like, dude, yeah, of course. That's awesome. He's like, what about like an eyeball with wings? Because I can't think of anything more metal than that. So that's how it worked. The eyeball with wings. And then it was, but it was Walter's idea. See, this is the cool part about the book, because we just had the eyeball with wings. When Walter was doing the designs for the book, he said, for some reason, I think he needs a hat. And we were like, sure, do it. And he just put a little bowler hat on him. And
the bowler hat's pretty common with the eyeball thing, actually.
Yeah, see, that's the first time I'd ever seen that, and I was like, okay, cool, do it. So it just kind of took off from there, and that's the beauty of Metal Shark Bro, is that it's just completely collaborative. Walter, Kevin, myself, and Chaz, who's the letter and editor, who's a very talented guy. We just kind of kick around these ideas to try to make the best book that we can make. It's not about whose ideas made the book or whose idea got the best laugh or people like this part better. It's just about making a quality book. Yeah, exactly. A book that I want to read and that it's easy to push to somebody and it's easy to sell. And I think Metal Shark Bro is both of those things.
Now, we mentioned that Diamond told my retailer if they were low in stock,
yeah,
they get it. You can get it at scoutcomics.com/collection/Metal Shark Bro /product/Metal Shark-Bro-trade paperback.
Yes. That's a lot.
On the screen. It's on the screen. So just go to scoutcomics.com and look it up. You can find it.
Yeah, man.
And so there's that. Now, there is a second story arc that's coming up.
Yes, sir. The second arc will be out, I believe, issue 1, because the way Scout Comics did this was it is a single issue followed by the trade. So that's the way they're doing. They're calling it the at first I think it's called binge. Binge. It used to be called Nonstop. Now it's Binge. But they're doing single issue and then the trade. So the single issue for volume 2 will be out, I think, August 6th in stores. We started soliciting it back in April, but then the world ended and comic shop shut down. So we got pushed back. I think it'll be out August 6th, and then the trade should be out after that. But we ran Kickstarters for both of the volumes. So we shipped out the Kickstarters for volume 2 during the month of June. So that's why you see, like, if you pay attention to like the comic media, Bleeding Cool ran a review of the second volume. There's been a couple other places because they might have gotten like a preview, or they backed
like
the
I got a preview of it.
yeah. You know, or they backed the Kickstarter, which is cool because the Kickstarter really kind of vindicated the idea, because again, it was just an idea at that point. Like, it was just an idea that Kevin and I had that we tricked Walter into drawing. But once we kickstarted it and we raised our, $25,000 goal for volume 1, then it gave us a lot of freedom to kind of play with the idea even more, to kind of push the envelope even farther. And I think we were able to do that with the second volume.
Okay, well, let's show them real quick what that is.
Sure.
And that is METALSHARK BRO Assault on Hamzig Island #1.
Yeah.
Publisher, again, is Scout Comics. Bob and Kevin write it. Walter draws it. Chaz letters and edits it. Action, dark comedy. The METALSHARK BRO had completed the tasks at Satan. Now, realize I wrote this before I got the first trade, so I didn't realize it was Satan's nephew.
Yeah, sure. You're fine, man. No problem.
But Satan's nephew had demanded of him and had returned to his natural shark state. Unfortunately, one of his demonic agent friends, that's Ira, the eyeball guy, is captured by a rival of Satan, and only he can rescue his friend Ira from the enemy. So he gets retransformed into the bro and sets off to rescue his friend. Only things might not be as simple as the bro believes them to be. For when he gets to his friend, he may find it's all been a trap for him all along. Bro, not cool. So again, I said mature readers on this one because I didn't get to see the first. I hadn't seen the trade. Okay. Once I got to read the trade, I got more of a feel that it was for more of a Aqua Teen, Hunger Force teenager to get into it anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and let's see if I can call that up real quick.
This is you have a very fancy operation here, Louis. I'm impressed. Look at all this stuff. Look at all the stuff you're doing. This is wonderful.
But let's see here.
See, volume 2 is fun to me because we ended the first book with METALSHARK BRO returning to his sharkdom, I guess, like being a shark again. So when we were kicking around, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to bring him back? The most logical way was Ira, because Ira was his friend. So Ira would be the thing that would bring him back. So early on in issue 1, Ira gets kidnapped. Of volume 2, he gets kidnapped by this evil creature, and so that prompts METALSHARK BRO to return to the task of being METALSHARK BRO, if you will, and then it's all just downhill from there, which is fun for METALSHARK BRO. There's the second volume; it's a lot of fun. It reminds
pages from the new series.
Yeah, it's really good. Walter, I mean, the artwork in this thing is so wonderful because the first book took place on Earth. Like, so you had like a more realistic, and not realistic to the sense of like, we're drawing buildings to scale and things of that nature, but a more kind of reality based backgrounds. In the second volume, most of it takes place in hell, so we can do whatever we want. And Walter had so much fun drawing this book, and it really shows.
There you go. Now you get a better see of the whole picture.
Yeah, it's a wonderful idea because
Walter. This is Ira going to a casino.
Yes.
And in this part, he has a body, I noticed.
No. He doesn't have a body. He's just wearing clothes.
Oh, okay.
There's no body. It's just clothes. He has like
his tentacles are fitting the clothes. How is that?
Yeah, he has the tendrils in the arms. But if you notice later on in volume 1, like the tendrils just kind of swing around and the clothes just kind of hang freely from him, which is just silly stuff that we like to do. So then Walter wanted to keep putting clothes on him, so we just kept adding clothes to him. It's pretty ridiculous.
And then this is when Satan tells the shark, he's not METALSHARK BRO yet, that, hey, Ira's been captured and you're going to have to go get him. And the only way you can do it is be METALSHARK BRO. So he gets transferred back. And, I kind of was like laughing at this thing, as far as that goes.
That's what we're going for, though, Louis. If you're not laughing, we didn't do something right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not taking offense in the fact that you're laughing.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't laughing, then I'd be like, oh man, we got a problem here. But since you seem to be enjoying it, and the art is so fun and it's so playful, and that's kind of the fun part about it. Like, people have, somebody asked, like, how did you manage to make us care about this character? It's because we made him likable. Like, yes, he is created by Satan's nephew, and yes, he does kind of kill a bunch of people. Yes, that's all fine and good, but he's a very likable character, and Ira is a very likable character, and together they have like a real bond, a real friendship. And I think it kind of resonates with the readers. We've had people tell us, like, oh, I wish I had a friend like Ira. And that's exactly what we're going for. That's all by design, you know?
We're going to get a little bit even closer to look at the...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got... I'm actually using the PDF that Scout sent me.
Oh, nice. They're working with Scout has been really awesome. They've been super supportive of everything we wanted to do. Kevin and I are doing... Ninja Nun short, because the Ninja Nuns are introduced in volume 1 as like the justice kind of branch of the church, and a lot of people were interested in the Ninja Nun. So Kevin and I decided, hey, let's do a Ninja Nun short. Like, we're going to do an anthology piece, just a bunch of short stories put together to tell a story about it. And Scout, when we told them about it, they were immediately on board. So they've been super supportive of us and the idea. So it's very nice when you have a publisher that's willing to kind of back you and put your book out in stores, you know?
Right. So I don't want to show them everything.
You get the gist of it. You know what's happening. Now, do you have the entire trade, or is this just the preview? Or is this just the first issue?
This is just the first issue of the second story arc.
Oh, okay.
The new one that's coming out on the 6th, you said, August 6th.
August 6th. That's cool. So you don't even know what happens in the second arc.
No. All I've seen this shows the full first issue of the one that's coming out.
Okay.
But that's why I said I didn't want to show everything, you know, in either way. But yes, I do have the full trade for the first arc that I got last night. But
volume 2 ends on a nice cliffhanger, and then we do some callbacks from volume 1, which is nice because there were things, like I said, like you said yourself, sir. They wanted to know little details about, well, what about this and what about this and what about this? So in volume 2, we kind of explored some of those questions that some of the readers had in the second part of volume 2. So it's a lot of fun. We had a good time with it.
Okay, let's go ahead and add Jeffrey back if you'd like to be.
Of course.
You ready to come back in, Jeff? All righty.
Hello. I muted myself. Courtesy you.
Yeah. You've been listening to what's we've been talking about. Do you have any questions for Bob or anything that?
Yeah, certainly. I saw that you're published by Scout Comics.
Yes.
So how long was the process of submitting and getting a response for those future writers out there?
That's an interesting question, man. Some places, comics is such a strange game in many senses because it's the one field that you're never going to hear your no. You're just not going to hear anything, and then you take that as a no. So, I mean, even some of the bigger publishers have on their websites, if you don't hear anything from us within a month, consider your pitch rejected. And that's just the worst feeling in the entire world. When we did Metal Shark Bro Volume 1, we had some publishers reach out to us based on the success of the Kickstarter. There were a few different publishers. One of them was Scout Comics. Walter Osley, the artist of of Metal Shark Bro, had a release earlier in the year with Scout, and he spoke very highly of them. So we decided to go with Scout Comics, and it was a decision that I think we've really enjoyed. I was telling Lewis earlier that the support that we've received from Scout has just been unbelievable. When we told them we wanted to do a second volume, they were like, yeah, do it. We're going to do this Ninja Nun short, this one-shot book, and Scout is all about it. So they've been very supportive of us and of the title, which is very nice because you can work with some of the smaller publishers as I have, and communication is null and void. You can't get a yes or a no on simple things like, hey, I need more books. Can you send me more books? It'll take you 2 months to get a response from some of the smaller publishers, but Scout Comics has been so just, I feel like a real partner with us throughout this whole venture. It's been refreshing. It's been nice. So I would recommend, if you want to pitch to Scout, do it. They're a really great company. As for how long it took, I couldn't tell you because they came to us kind of thing. So, but like I said, it's working with them it's been a blast. They've been unbelievable. Well,
from one writer to another, obviously because conventions are gone at this point.
Yes.
What are you doing to make up what would have been that revenue for making your comic book?
Oh man, I mean, it's just kind of one of those things that I'm not going to cry over spilled milk, I'm sad. I'm more sad about not being able to do the shows because I can't see my friends, because cons for me and for a lot of the people that I love in this business, it just turns into like a giant slumber party. Like it's just, it's boys farting in hotel rooms, eating pizza and watching stupid television together. So it's more of like a summer camp. And the fact that we can't do that really makes me sad. We were going to go to Heroes. We were going to do a couple other shows. And it just, that's the main part of it for me, man. Like the revenue, it is what it is, because again, when you're doing a show, you don't know how it's going to go. So, I mean, it's not like I walk into a show and say, okay, I have to make, $130 today, or it was a total loss, so it's just more of the experience and meeting some of my peers and getting out and socializing.
You try to make that much money in terms of at least your travel expenses.
Yeah, no, totally.
But I mean, it's like, it depends on the size of the show and where you're going. I mean, if you're going to a 1-day show and you had to travel and do a hotel, well, you're losing something probably.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, at the same time too, I always have the attitude, no matter where I am.
People,
yes, as long as I can meet people, and I'm not going to sell any books sitting at home. So I don't. I mean, there's been shows that I've been to that I've sold absolutely nothing, but I got to shake some hands and meet some people, which is cool. It's all just part of the process, man. You don't get into comics to make money. Especially on this level. You do it because you love telling stories and you love the process and you love the medium. And more importantly for me, it's about loving the medium. Like I've been a comic fan since I was 10 years old. And the fact that I get to make books and the fact that people actually read and enjoy them, it's like a dream come true. Would I like to, make a TV show and make 1,000 comics and write Spider-Man one day? That would be unbelievable. Is that going to happen? No, but I can still enjoy my small piece of the pie. You never know. But I mean,
right now, the way these fools are doing things, I mean, if you get big enough notoriety for your scout work, they might pick you.
You never know. I mean, again, you never know. But I'm not in it for that reason. I'm in it to tell stories. I like what I'm doing. I enjoy telling the stories that I'm telling, and I like the fact that we have a publisher in Scout Comics that believes in what we're doing and believes in Kevin and myself. They've basically told us like, hey dude, if you have something, give it to us. We'll see what we can do. So that's nice. The idea of pitching blind is the worst part of this business. So the fact that we're kind of making a little bit of progress in our careers really is awesome.
Yeah.
Have you tried the virtual conventions yet?
Have I? Yes, we did. We did the virtual Hawaii Comic Con, and that was a lot of fun. Like we just posted some stuff online, and I had a couple people ask me some questions, and I ended up selling a couple books. So that was cool. It was fun. As for like the panels and stuff like that, I haven't really gotten into a lot of that aspect of it yet because nobody's asked. So who knows? Maybe maybe I'm not as interesting as I think I am.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say.
Oh, Louis, come on, man. We've been talking for like almost an hour.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have. Because I came on about 8:45. Before we started, it was about 15 minutes. Now you're calling me a liar, Louis? What's going on here? I'm being attacked. This is ridiculous.
Hold on a second. I was trying to see a window here.
Bob, you prefer big shows or smaller shows? Which one do you think is best for indie writers?
You know what, man? I don't think there's necessarily a bad show for an indie writer, because if you're doing a bigger show, you're out of your element to some extent because you're selling a book about a shark guy. and Mike Mignola is 10 aisles up from you, and you're not going to sell as much stuff as the guy who created Hellboy, but you can go around and meet people and press the flesh and kind of get a vibe of what other people are working on and maybe find some artists to collaborate with. So that's always nice.
You probably know this gentleman, Mark Andrew Smith. Gladstone School for World Conquerors.
I don't know him.
Ah, okay. Well, he's one of our regular viewers and guests on the show. He just said amen to what you said.
So I mean, but the smaller shows are cool too, because you can sell a shit ton of books, pardon my French, and you can make some.
I told him, I warned him at the beginning of the show, you can swear.
And you can make some fans. Like one of my favorite shows in the whole wide world used to be, it was called Tricon in Huntington, West Virginia. I'm based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. It was one day in, one day out. I got to know the guys of the show who ran the show. James Maddox and Eric were friends of mine. They're really good dudes. They also write books, but I would go there every year and just kind of see the same people and over and over and over again. So it was almost like a family reunion, And so you'd get that repeat business, which is nice to see. But if you do the bigger shows enough, you can kind of get that repeat business as well. So if you do Heroes 6 years in a row, yeah, you may lose your ass the first year, but you're building up an audience and it takes a lot of time. So you got to be willing to kind of take the risks. And while you're at Heroes, don't worry about just selling books. Worry about going around and meeting other artists and meeting other creators and trying to grow your reputation as a decent human being amongst other hopefully decent human beings.
I put up the Scout page that actually has your trade paperback.
Oh, cool. Look at that thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And even though, I think $14 is including the shipping and handling.
Yeah.
Because I know I got mine for $11.99 on the back cover. So
I don't know, man. Maybe the demand has gone up or something. So they're, But
yeah, you can get it there. And let me see if I can find that banner real quick again. This is, again, the actual page address that you're seeing on the screen. And you can order it directly from Scout and have it shipped to you. If you can't get it through Diamond for some reason.
But it's been a good time. We've got a pretty loyal audience. We've got a pretty loyal following with the book. We sold out the first printing of volume 1 of issue 1 when it came out last year. So that was a good feeling, to be able to say yeah, we got a sold out book. That was cool. It's been a lot of fun and people seem to really dig the book. So that's what's most important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you've been on for 30 minutes and you said you had a show and another 10 or 15 to do.
Yeah, I've been doing a Star Trek podcast for 9 years. We watch and review Star Trek. We finished all of TNG and we're almost done with Deep Space Nine. So next is Voyager. I'm not looking forward to that. I got to be honest with you. if I'm just being honest, I'm not excited about Voyager whatsoever.
Well, what do you think of the new stuff?
I really enjoy Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy Discovery a lot. That might not be a popular statement amongst Star Trek fans, which I don't understand why, but I really like Discovery. Picard, I'm gotta be honest with you, man. I didn't even finish it. I was kind of bored with it. I got to the 3rd episode, and
better.
Yeah, 7 or 9 showed up, and I was like, dude, nostalgia's cool, and I dig it, but it can only take you so far. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been back. And my wife and I have talked about watching the rest of Picard, but it's just meh. But I'm really excited about that Lower Deck show. That looks fun.
Mm-hmm.
So the cartoon that they're doing, I think it's from the Rick and Morty guys, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That looks cool. And I like the idea of because doing a Star Trek review podcast that tends to be on the sillier side of it, I like the idea of us looking at Star Trek from a different kind of perspective as opposed to the big 7, looking at it from the plebes that have to do the shit work and the grunt work, if you will.
Voyager sucks for the first season and then gets decent.
But that's a bad statement. And you're coming off Deep Space Nine, which is, balls to the walls, fantastic television.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know if you guys are Deep Space Nine fans. I don't even know if you've seen it, but Deep Space Nine is wonderful. It's poignant and it's real, and a lot of it still holds up to this day. Just some of the themes and kind of ideas that they kicked around back in 1996 are very much in play right now in the world that we live in. It's a really great show. So to come off the high of Deep Space Nine and go stumbling into Voyager, yeah, I'm not excited about it.
Okay, hello again to Ted Davies, who's another one of our regulars.
Hey, Ted.
And Mark also agrees you. He likes Discovery, hates Picard.
I couldn't get into it, man. Like, I just couldn't. I don't know why.
Love DS9. He's seen every episode of Trek except for the animated series.
You would like our podcast, Mark. It's called Dork Trek. Go to dorktrek.com and check it out. We've got almost 400 episodes that we've done.
Oh, my God.
I know. I mean, when you think about it, we've done all of TNG, which was 178 episodes. We've done almost all of Deep Space Nine, which is 178 episodes. And we did all the TNG movies. And then every now and then, like, we reviewed a couple episodes of G.I. Joe, the old G.I. Joe cartoon. We reviewed a couple episodes of Twilight Zone. We did that. But yeah, we've almost got 400 episodes.
Wow.
We've been doing the thing for 9 years. It's a lot of fun.
Here I am on season 2, episode 30.
Oh, dude, whatever, man. The thing is, it's not a pissing contest. And we took our podcast took like 2 years off because I was living in Virginia Beach and I moved to Cincinnati, Ohio to be a stay-at-home father to my 2 young children. And I had to learn how to live life again because I don't have time to record podcasts and watch TV shows when I'm changing diapers and cooking dinner and all this other jazz. So we had a very big gap in our programming, but we've been back doing the show now for, I'd say, like a solid 4 or 5 years. And it's been a lot of fun, man. So
okay.
Yeah, but Metal Shark Bro is the jam. You can pick that up. Go to scoutcomics.com and check it out. I really appreciate you giving me this forum, Louis, to talk about my silly book. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. Now, what was your...
Actually, you and Kevin and Walter, I got to have you, all three of you, back on sometime in the future.
Yeah, man, let us know. We've been trying to do like a whirlwind tour because we've got... volume 2 coming out in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, dude, we would love to get on and talk to you about the book. I'm sure you have questions that you can ask, and we would love to try to answer them as best as we can.
And Mark closes out with going back to the Next Generation and trying to watch it the second time. It was really hit and miss. But I did a viewing of the best episodes recently.
Yeah, but TV was a different time then because you had to fill 26 episodes a season. Like if they could have done 10 episodes, I mean, TNG would have been crazy. And it's not, it was episodic. They didn't have like a constant storyline running through it. So it was very much Alien of the Week or, Problem of the Day kind of thing. Television is very much different now, which is why I'm excited. They're talking about the Boldly Go show with Pike that they're doing. They're talking about that being more episodic. So I'm curious to see what that happens. I'm just glad they're making more Star Trek. The more Star Trek, the better,
Yeah. Well, we can tell you're a Trekker.
I love it, man.
or do you prefer Trekkie?
I don't care. I'm a fan. It doesn't really matter to me. Whatever you want to call me is fine.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you got like 10 minutes to your show. So
yeah, man. Thank you. Again, I can split. And I know, Jeff, thank you so much for your questions too. I appreciate it. Good luck with what you're doing, dude. And Louis, thank you for having me on, dude. We'll work something out to get all the boys on.
Yes, we will.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Some of my boys came in a little bit late, Mark and Ted. I don't know if they misunderstood what I had said. Normally, we use our format. As they're used to, we do the questions first. I didn't do questions tonight. I went straight into talking with Bob because he only had the first half hour or so for the show to be available because he had to go do his dork trek. And Mark says that's true about what Bob had said about the episodic versus the arcs that we do in television nowadays. It does make a difference in how television is done. So we're going to go ahead and go into covering Jeffrey's book now. And you got to share a screen. And that is Malek, Reigning Devil, #1.
Correct.
And it's from publisher 123 Go. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. $4.25. Jeffrey is the writer. Do you have a co-writer, or is it just you?
Just me.
Just you. I just wanted to make sure. Because originally I thought it was just Bob writing, and then I found out Kevin was his co-writer.
No worries.
The artist is Juan Manuel Almiron. Is that pronounced correct?
I hope so. Better than I would do.
Okay. The colors are by Chris McCauley, and the cover is by Edwin. Now that one I'm going to have a heck of a time pronouncing.
Edwin
Rothomio.
No, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's available on indieplanet.com, and I will share that page with you folks shortly. And what it's about is Malek is an angel who has killed Lucifer and taken over hell, but he finds that killing Lucifer makes him the ruler of hell. That while he is now the ruler of hell because he's killed Lucifer, the denizens of the realm infernal are not just going to obey him. He must earn their loyalty, and thus the quest to reign hell begins. Only Malek doesn't realize that this was all God's will. And when he is told as much by the Archangel Gabriel, well, let's just say he doesn't take that very well. I say the concept and story are very solid. The art needed improvement. We've talked about that privately before the show about what I thought about some of the art. But I gave it a 3 out of 5 overall. And you asked me about your writing. I give the writing a 4 out of 5. The art, like I said, needs a little work. And I think that's just due to Juan's, I don't want to say inexperience. I'm not sure, because I'd like to see what his pencils look like before I could really say. But let's take a quick look at some of his artwork. And that's about as big as we can get that for now. Do you see what I'm saying about all the art? All the line work looks very similar in line weight, same thickness of line.
Well, I will say, being that I've never been an artist myself, I will always say I don't have the best eye for noticing these details. That's usually it's nice to have an editor at 123 Go who pays attention to the art better than I can. I don't quite have the eye for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fair. I do like the designs. I like your monster here, the big teeth and all the tentacles with mouths and stuff. And it's very interesting as far as the whole concept of Malek becoming the ruler of hell and trying to make deals with different levels of hell, and each one of the rulers of each of the levels have their own. I don't want to call it a ruler. I don't know what would you call it?
Yeah, I mean, basically they're basically in charge of hell, or at least the representative of that circle. Basically, I borrowed an idea from Dante's Inferno, the idea of the 9 circles of hell, each circle covering a different type of sin or punishment. So Each one kind of embodies that circle. So you obviously have gluttony, you have lust. I didn't really cover the others. The next issue we kind of move on to Fight Ball and some other characters.
Right. I figured each one. It's very difficult to go through all the sins in one book. I mean,
yes, indeed.
I figured you were going to be taking it levels to levels, and so
to some extent, like I said, we do 2 issues in hell, 1 in purgatory, 2 in heaven, and then we have an epilogue issue. So it's going to be 6 issues total.
Okay.
So it's get like a cursory sense of hell, but we're not going to hit every circle, just for avoid redundancy.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wouldn't be redundant. I think it just depends on how you want to pace your story and what lessons Malek might learn from each level and what he would gain from being at each level. You could do that, but if you don't, that takes development. And if you don't want to develop that, you don't have to. That's all it is. It's just a decision. Let's see what else we got here for the art. That was the cover and the beginning of the actual book here. This was talk about how this actually came out of a previous book that you your backup story for.
Yeah, basically it's this comic book right here. I did grab it. I did find it. It's Good Metal Black Ops, #1.
Go ahead and show that again.
All right, it's right here. Got it.
Yep. Gun Metal Black Ops. Okay.
Yeah. So the first series is the story by the owner of 123 Go and the editor Phoebe Xavier, and she did a fantastic job with it. I handled the 8-page backup story, which was called God's Sword at the time. Originally, the intent was to make it a one-and-done 8-page story. Like I said, obviously introduce the story, the characters quickly, build the plot, and resolve it all within that 8-page. There was not at that moment the idea of making a series from it.
Right.
Basically, what I was told was whatever story you have is fine, but make sure there's a gun in it so it matches the idea of the gunmetal concept, the gunplay concept. So I came up with the assassin angel MALEK HaMashit, who is basically, in many ways, God's ultimate killer angel. As we read later on, when we get to the Purgatory issue, issue 3, he was the reason why Sodom and Gomorrah was turned to salt. He's the one who actually had to do it. All great acts of massive violence is caused by MALEK, or not, or at the demand of God. So in the first story, God orders him to kill Lucifer. And the reason for that is revealed more in the first issue, not this God's sword story. But to kill the devil, you must go to hell. And as the story goes for most of the mythology of the theology around heaven and hell, all that, the moment you enter hell, your grace is forever gone. You can't get it back.
Right.
So MALEK has to give up his grace by murdering a fellow angel in order to go to hell to kill Lucifer. So he knows immediately once he goes to hell, he'll never make it back to heaven. He had to kill a brother of his to get there. And all he can ever look forward to in his existence now is more time in hell, and that torture existing in the realm of hell. So that's where the bitterness starts coming from. I've done all this for you, and now at the very end, you still forsake me and leave me in this pit. And that's where issue 1 then takes that, and he goes about seeking revenge against God for what he believes is a major insult to his service.
Right. Okay. We're going ahead and looking through the PDF here that you sent me. And, like I said, I think this is a very solid story. I think the Juan's art design is good. I just think sometimes his inking is a little bit weak, but it's hard for me to say until I see the actual pencils. No,
like I said, I truly understand. One obviously, as the writer who's never been able to draw anything, I can't comment on the difference of or the impact of inks on a page versus pencils. What I did like what Juan did a lot. I think he had the right mood for the story.
Oh yes, definitely has the right mood.
I think he's very creative with his visuals of the different characters in hell. And as we move to the next issues, because the second issue has already started production, his creativity for the characters and the realms becomes even better. So I think he has I think visually he did a fantastic job. Creatively did a good job. And I think he also, obviously has quite detail. I can't speak to inks or pencil for total lack of experience on my side, who I can't do either one properly.
No, it's fine. Again, I'm not trying to knock him or say that he sucks or anything like that. I think he does a nice job. I've seen a lot worse comics, believe me. I just think that some people might look at that and not really respect it as much.
Okay, fair enough.
Because they don't really know, in that respect. And here's a little bit larger piece of that page that we showed to start a little bit smaller earlier.
Like I said, I really did like the creature designs they came out with. I think the demon designs are, it doesn't feel taken from anybody else. It does feel like he developed it on his own. And I think we could remove all the dialogue. Remove all the
story.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get the sense of it. And if you see a page from this comic book anywhere else, you probably could already say that's Juan and that's Malek. Probably quite easily the way he came up with certain things. But like I think the second issue is doing well, and I think you'd be fascinated with what you did with Ball as a character. I think very good, and there's a bunch of other demons. Basically, when you get to the second issue, you start getting introduced to other demon, I would say maybe knights, or what in hell I guess would be considered more like demonic warlords, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. Plus, you get a little more background into the psychology of Malek. And even though he is doing what he's doing, there's still that part of him that wishes to be back in heaven and be the loyal servant. So most of the second issue deals with that push and pull versus I'm angry, I'm going to get my revenge by ruling hell. And also on the other side, God, I wish I could just go back to the way things were when I was the angel. I didn't have to worry about making my own decisions. I could, be that servant. So he struggles with that more in issue 2. And then it builds with 3 and eventually 4 and 5. But inevitably, this is going to be, I would say, 6 issues, and then you have your 8-issue prologue now.
Right. Like here, this page right here, where he's going into the third circle of gluttony. That's what I mean, like kind of a weak penciling and inking there. But then again, the coloring might have changed that. I don't know. But no big deal.
And once again, I do think he did a good job with the visual.
I love his gluttony demon here.
Indeed. Like I said, I think once again, without knowing the story, you can look at him and know it's gluttony, probably. Or if you had to make a guess of which sin are you looking at, I'm sure gluttony comes first in your mind as your first guess.
Yeah.
I think that was a fantastic visual that he came up with. And it definitely works. He is as gross as gluttony probably would be.
Yep. So, what made you decide to go? Pardon me. There we go. What made you decide to go with Indie Planet?
Actually, like I said, Indie Planet technically came to me, sort of. Sorry, with Indie Planet. I thought you meant 123 Go. Sorry, Indie Planet. That's the owner of 123 Go. Was his decision. He obviously owns she owns the comic book. My mistake. She owns the comic book company. She viewed Indie Planet as having the benefit not only having online orders, but she can also look at it from the point of view of you can order as you go. So from a company standpoint, the cost of printing is one of your major cost of overhead that you got to deal with. And I think she very wisely looks at Indie Planet as something that if no one orders a copy, it doesn't cost you anything. Indie Planet handles the printing. You do get a smaller percentage of profit off the cover, but once again, you're talking about if you're dealing with Comics Wellspring, maybe 500 copies, maybe you're still spending $225 per issue just printing it. So I think she wisely chose Indie Planet as the path where the overhead is going to be the least restrictive.
Okay.
And Phoebe, I talk to Phoebe often. I have a good rapport with my publisher. She's fantastic, and I think she's very wise about how she has approached this. And a few times I've been like, wait, why don't we do this? But after talking to her for a little while, you go, that makes sense. I see why she did that.
Well, I'm not against Indie Planet. I actually had the owners of Indie Planet on the show a couple weeks back, so I just wondered, But let's go ahead and show the actual page from Indie Planet so that people can actually go see it. And add that to our banners here real quick. That is the actual address there. If it doesn't go there, just go indieplanet.com and type in Malek, MLAEK, and it will show up relatively.
And if you want the digital copy, it's literally only I think 99 cents. So it's cheaper than a cheeseburger at McDonald's. So.
Let me see if I can find it here real quick here. You can do a digital download for 99 cents or buy a print-on-demand copy for $4.25.
Indeed. So, like I said, cheaper than a cheeseburger if you want a digital. A couple of cheeseburgers if you want print.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it's going to be a fun read. Like I said, good action in the story. I think you'll enjoy the dialogue. I do think it's elevated. I do think it's definitely a lot of philosophical, theological ideas being that's inserted within it. So yeah, there's a lot of big ideas. And I think people are going to enjoy, get that to kind of causes you to question certain things. And I think that's one of the best parts about a story. If it makes you walk away with some ideas or some questions, it did its job. Hopefully it makes you think. But if you just do it and you find it fun and enjoyable, a lot of things get killed. Fun too.
Absolutely. And I said this is for mature readers. I think that's a fairly reasonable statement. I don't think anybody over 16 should be reading it at all. Not so much, first off, I don't think a lot of them will understand the different characters and, like the Amashite and stuff. They don't know what that is unless they've really either had good Bible studies or I mean, they get the idea of what it is, but at the same time, it's a lot, a 12-year-old is not going to understand what the different levels of hell are because they haven't read that stuff, to know.
Quick suggestions. As you read, have your Google Chrome open. I will say that I do not at all worry if my reader does not understand something. I expect that if they care enough, they'll look it up themselves. And so have your Google Chrome open, take a look. Pay attention a little bit to Dante's Inferno as well. That'd be helpful for you.
That's what I'm saying. A 12-year-old wouldn't know what Dante's Inferno even was these days.
Exactly.
But hopefully in high school, get that in high school.
I have tried a few times. I'm a teacher in my day job, and I've tried teaching Dante's Inferno. It's over the heads of most high school kids as well, unfortunately.
It's probably over the head of postgraduate students these days. I swear. Yeah. I've taught. Mark Andrew Smith teaches. Like I said, I know a lot of teachers, and in fact, if you were hearing Bob, he teaches too. So it's like it's a very common thread among writers and artists in the comic book industry. We teach a lot.
It's not surprising. During the day, you deal with all anger, aggravation, frustration. At night, you write stories about destroying things. It makes you
It makes sense. That makes sense.
You got to let it out.
Yep. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and go into the questions and answers then, because we didn't do that in my normal show, and because of one of the questions I got this week had to do with something that happened on your Facebook page. So we're going to go ahead and share that screen real quick. And our first question will be from TJ in Illinois. And he says, I saw you post something on Facebook that rather confused me. You gave an excellent definition of who and what Comicsgate is, but then in the same thread, you said that we need to judge people individually and not whether they are associated with Comicsgate. Could you explain the difference? I mean, aren't all CG people anti-everyone who isn't a straight white male? And I understand where they're coming from, but let's think about this for a minute. Okay, first off, let's wait for my page to load. It doesn't. There we go. Let's see what I actually said, and share that. And let me see if I can get this thing to do it right. It's not opening right. Why isn't it not opening? There we go. I said I define Comicsgate as a group of people who hate the mainstream comics market, mostly comprised of talents who used to be the favored talents who have had their day come and gone, or by people who never got their turn in the mainstream, who spend most of their time criticizing the comics industry and falsely blaming women, non-whites, and LGBTQs for the so-called ruination of the industry, when the reality is the industry was largely already ruined because of the garbage they produced when they were the hot commodities. They're like a bully gang in middle school who tears down everyone else. And that is true on the face level, especially of those who are the key members or the key high-profile people of Comicsgate. That is how they come across to everyone, and it's created a very negative perception of what they are, and not without validation, not without valid reason. But what people don't seem to understand, and on your Facebook page, Steve Ellis, who was the artist for The Only Living Boy, came back to me and said, well, basically you are who you associate with. And I just don't believe in that, because, you know, you're friends with someone and they go do something foolish. Well, because you're friends with them, you're like them? No, that's not true. You're an individual. You do what you do and say. That's what you should be judged upon. Does that make sense?
No, I definitely see what you're saying. I assume it depends on what they did. Obviously, if they kill somebody, I hope you walk away.
Yeah. You know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, if someone, you know, I mean, you know, it's kind of like, you know, people say, "Oh my gosh, I voted for Trump." Okay, so they voted for Trump. You know, you don't have to sit there and say, "Well, I'm never going to buy their book because they voted for Trump." In this day and age where we have these idiot people who are celebrities who do really stupid things, like the Atlanta quarterback, Michael Vick, who had the dog fighting ring. Yes, he went to jail for it. And yet he got to come back and play in the NFL and got millions of dollars. Now, there's a guy that should have been banned from the sport. Okay, fine. Because he killed living beings, you know. But, you know, you voted for somebody, the other guy that you didn't like. Come on. I mean, you know, that's you know, this person deserves to not have a career. This person deserves to be thrown out of the country because he voted for Trump. You know, I think that's a little excessive. But at the same time, a lot of these people who are, shall we say, the mouthpieces of Comicsgate have turned around and done the exact opposite and have said, well, these people are what's ruining America and what's ruining comics and stuff. And they're in the same boat. They're going way overboard, and they need to be called out for being that way as well. But what Comicsgate was supposed to be was the comics industry is a broken system that does not allow for equal and fair market. And what I mean by that is, first off, we've got Diamond that pretty much only carries about 10% of comics in our industry. And I've mentioned this on the show numerous times before. And then, like Bob was saying, and I think you might have said this too, I don't know, trying to get in with Diamond is not the easiest thing to do.
That is true.
Yeah, so, you know, we've got that. But the other thing is there's too many individuals in our industry right now, and this is regardless of their race, their gender, their age, their sexuality, their religion, their political affiliations. They got too much work on their plates at the expense of both proven and marketable talents and newcomers who are simply trying to enter the market and be considered by publishers and or audiences on a fair and equal platform. Now, this doesn't mean that the creators who have a lot of work should be forced out of the industry. What it means is that the managerial and editorial groups of these publishers need to be openly called out and properly criticized for enabling that behavior. There's no writer anywhere on earth that is so great that they deserve to be published at a rate of 3 to 20 different titles a month by anywhere from 2 to 10 different publishers at the same time. But we have multiple writers who enjoy this luxury, I guess, I don't know, what circumstance, whatever. And examples include, and they're not limited to these people, Cullen Bunn, Jeff Lemire, Jim Zub, Scott Snyder, Jason Aaron, Jonathan Hickman, Jerry Duggan. There's another 30 to 50 writers I could name who fit that category, that they just have a lot of books. And again, I'm not saying their books are bad. I'm not saying that they don't deserve to be in the business. I'm saying that there's other writers who are equally as good who have other content who are not being seen at all. And they've got their fair share, so why do you keep giving them more? And that's what I think they're saying Comicsgate is, well, they're just, kicking out and keeping everybody else out except for their little clique group. And there's truth to that because that's been true for 30 years at least. But now that some of those favored sons and daughters, like a Chuck Dixon, like Ethan Van Sciver, have been pushed out, and they're being replaced by the people that for the last 10 or 15 years we've been saying we want some of these people in. Now they're complaining. That's where, hey, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either we get a fair and equal market or we don't. What do you want? Do you want fair and equal, or do you want your favored people only? And I think that's the conflict there.
I'm going to disagree with you on some stuff.
Sure.
To be honest with you, I would say first, if we're going to go to Ethan Van Sciver, is going to be a bad example for just about anything, because of what he has done becomes toxic to the company that he works for, and that is money. That's money. Yep. That is business. And while freedom of speech, I do believe, is an important thing to the nation.
Absolutely.
The company itself does not have freedom of speech. They're a private organization. They can make their own rules. Ethan Van Sciver has crossed the line probably from be considered.
With Ethan thinks that he's God's gift, and he doesn't understand that he was basically the pet artist of Jeff Johns. And once Jeff quit working for DC, he was no longer in favor.
Right. I mean, I think unfortunately, Ethan Van Sciver, being a Green Lantern fan, I loved his art for quite some time. However, I will say his behavior since, whether you want to think that you can separate the art necessarily from the individual, Sciver has moved into the point where the art of the individual has become to the point of toxicity that it becomes extremely hard to acknowledge one without giving acceptance to the other, which you don't want to do necessarily. So I don't think DC pushed him out. I do think he pushed himself out in that area. So I would put that in with Ethan, and I would say he's definitely, unfortunately, has become a face of an entire movement.
He's not the only one, but he's one of them. Yeah.
Right. I mean, at the moment, he is the most recognizable name of it. So whatever Comicsgate was supposed to be or was going to be, because he became the face of it, is whatever he's making it that way. And I will.
Him and Richard Meyer and Chuck.
Right. Right. And I would argue that what Comicsgate, whatever, I'm not going to argue necessarily what it made have supposed to be, because whatever it was supposed to be, I know of what it is. Right. And it became something.
His idea, right?
Right, and it became something that is toxic. Absolutely. And being the face of the toxicity makes it. That's what it was going to be always connected to now is him and Richard Mayer, who I must admit I know nothing about him other than he did Comicsgate as a thing, but his work has never been made aware of what he's doing for work.
Say that again.
Is it Richard Mayer? Is his name?
That's your boy Zach.
What?
Your boy Zach, Jawbreakers.
I've never.
The guy that Mark Waid got blocked from being published at Antarctic Press.
Fair enough. But like I said, though, I've never read anything by him, but being what I know of Richard Mayer, I can guarantee I'm not in a position where I'm ever going to go looking for it.
Oh no. Well, that was the thing with Mark. Again, like I said, both sides have been a little bit excessive in the way they've handled things. I didn't understand why Mark went after Antarctic Press and told them, no, don't publish this guy or else I'm going to use all my clout and fame and fortune to ruin you if you publish this guy, which is basically what he did. And I'm like, why do you even care, Mark? You've got Thrillbent comics of your own online. You're working for 3 publishers as a writer, and you're being groomed to be the editor-in-chief of Humanoids. You've got your own, number one. And number 2, no one reads Antarctic Press books to speak of. The order numbers on these books are not very high. So even if they published him and they marketed him really well, we're talking about maybe 4,000 to 6,000 units nationwide. Now, because he got this big to-do, he's now all over Bleeding Cool. He's all over CBR. He's all over this stuff. And now people are backing him and spending a lot more money and buying a lot more copies of the book.
I will argue, the one reason out of comics. I will say that off the bat. And I will point out that as far as with Mark Waid, I understand what he was trying to do. And I do believe that you never need a black mark on comic books. However, there is what I would call the Marilyn Manson effect, that most people never heard of him until the church went after him. I would argue that it did help Richard become better known and get stronger support because of that.
Yeah.
It would have been.
I think if Mark had just not left him there, left it alone, I think Jawbreakers would have been maybe 3 issues, no sales, and it gets canceled, and we'd never hear from him again.
That is, like I said, that's possible. Like I said, I do think, I call it the Marilyn Manson effect. Most people, he would not have been a household name if everyone didn't come after him. So in that particular case, they made a martyr out of Richard Mayer, which is a goddamn shame because what he stands for is, in my opinion, abhorrent. However, unfortunately, sometimes when you really, really hate someone, you tell everyone how much you hate them. You gave them a whole lot of press, unfortunately. Yeah, and that part is true. Yeah. And like I said, and like I said, as I'm a public relations manager for a podcast called Spoiler Country. We almost every weekday now, we interview another artist or celebrity, and we do it almost every day. Well, weekdays, not weekends. And I've come across this situation where I have to make a decision: do I want to continue interviewing someone after, or do I want to interview someone after I look into their information, find out, oh shit, they're into this or that.
Well, yeah, if you see something that you're not comfortable with, but that's our job as podcasters to do the research before we invite anybody. Right. Anyway,
and I've had a debate with some of the people who are on the show about is our role as a podcast also gatekeeping? Do we keep certain people out who we say are I'm going to use the deplorable, whatever, because you know what I mean when I say that.
Yeah. Someone who we either don't get along with or someone that we just don't think is going to be conducive to a positive.
Right. And I will say, as I go through and I search for guests and I sign the guests up, there's been a guest. I'm not going to say names. I don't want to just insult anybody. Absolutely. Who, after just starting to discuss scheduling an interview, I looked up a little bit of his information and found that he was actually going to create a comic book with Richard Mayer. And I maybe it's more cowardly, just quietly stopped responding to him and let it go. I probably should have just said straight out, no, I'm not interested. But once again, that was something I did not want to involve. There is another writer who I have interviewed, and I actually personally interviewed this one, who I didn't know quite how conservative the individual was, in a way that apparently some things were said that I would have considered very inappropriate. However, it was more a issue of disagreement versus anything that I would say is deplorable. So I did continue with the interview. I think you can sometimes look and say the person believes something different than me, and the person still has valid rights to discuss, and you should talk to that individual. I do think people like Ethan Vince Geyer, Richard Mayer, and some of the other individuals who I ignore go through the point where they're actually causing harm to others. And I do think that's become the thing.
Yeah, I think the thing is, they're their own clique group, number one. And in fact, I've watched them tear down other members that are supposed to be Comicsgate.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this guy over here, he wants to be us, but he's not good enough. And I'm like, really? Yeah, it's like, what the hell? Here's a guy who's been promoting you on his podcast, and he's doing his thing, and he agrees with a lot of what you're saying, but because he thinks he can be us, and it's like, no, that's like I said, it's the classroom bullies. It's the people that our shit don't stink. Well, no, it does. I'm sorry.
I think the important thing is the world of comic books is a very small world. I mean, when you think about all the other, a lot of the other careers out there, a lot of other types of entertainment genre, and so on, the world of comics is a very small world, and there should be an acceptance in that world, and we shouldn't be cannibalizing ourselves on that thing. It's unfortunate that we do have some of these issues where people like once again I'm going with Ethan because he's like I said right now technically in my opinion the face of Gotham Gate.
No, you're not the only one who feels that way. It's not
right.
just
who
common perception and not
right.
a reasonable one.
And what we're trying to and what comic books need to do because they're such a small world and there's so few dollars out there. I mean, a number one comic book nowadays really only sells about 130,000 copies.
Yeah,
right. That's not a lot of copies. You need to try to get the pot as big as humanly possible and get the most people to come in and try buying comic books. Anyone who wants to buy a comic book, race, gender, sexual orientation, whatever, is a boon to all of us. The guy who buys or the girl who buys this comic book over here, there's a chance now that that person may find you and yours. You want to get inclusive and as much as possible get everyone involved. Unfortunately, someone like Ethan and some of the stuff that they're doing pushes out others from coming back, trying to get into the area, and that's when we lose.
like say they sit there and go, well, why is this this writer or this artist who replaced me, who's a black female, why is she getting work? Well, because people have been asking for that person for 10 years, and you've had 20 years at the top, and you said or did things, and the person that favored you is no longer in management. So now if the new group of management says, well, you know what? You've had your turn. We're going to give her a shot. That's management's right. And it's had nothing to do with the fact that it's because I'm conservative and I voted for Trump. No, it's because other factors.
I think the important thing to know is that, at least from my experience, corporations are neither moral, immoral, left or right. They are dollar signs or no dollar signs. They're going to go where they think the money is. If you say, let's say there was a black woman who got a job as a cover writer or an artist or whatever, if the person has talent, the sales are there, and the person has proven and earned. And the way things work is it's not a favor or not a favor. It's not they're trying to push this person or to give this person. It's dollars. Do they think this person has the talent to bring in dollars? And if they do, everyone should just be happy about it. I don't care what background you are. If there are dollars the person's bringing in to the industry, which is good for all of us, applaud that person. They deserved it. And there's no I don't believe in the idea in world comic that there's, let's say, I'm trying to think of the word for it, or that's not confirmation. I can't remember quite the word for it. Off the top of my head, sorry. But the idea is that whoever is making the money has earned their spots.
Right. Well,
and they believe the talent is good enough.
Black woman. What do you think of Far Sector?
Far Sector. I'm a Green Lantern fan, so I buy everything Green Lantern.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. My opinion, I think what they're trying to do is very important. I think there's an important voice in that comic book. I think the art is tremendous. I think the issues they're dealing with are relevant. I'm finding it difficult to read only for the fact that, one, I'm not able to get invested in the alien world at this moment for whatever reason. It's just not speaking to me. But it's not for me, probably. It's speaking to another audience who deserves to be spoken to. And the sales, from what I understand, of Far Sector are actually quite good.
Yeah,
or quite good. And also, I will say part of it also is to me being just the old man who says there's already like 6 human Green Lanterns. We don't need a 7th. But at the same time, it's not for me. It's for getting in a new audience, a younger audience as well. And the right hand for a lot of people are loving the series. A lot of people are, and I applaud it and fantastic for them.
Cool. Because the reason I'm saying that is because the actual writer of that book is one of those writers I've been saying has been asked to be brought into the market for 10 years.
Yeah. I've actually,
and that's the thing. Well, she's a black woman and she's writing a black woman token black character, and I was like, no, she was brought in because she has 8 Hugo and Nebula Awards. She's got an international audience base that can be marketed to,
Yeah.
And she's writing about a character that's science fiction, which Green Lantern really is supposed to be science fiction, not, Hal Jordan and the Mood Ring Brigades versus the zombies. That's what Ethan did. Let's face it. It's Hal Jordan and the Mood Ring Brigades versus the zombies. Okay, well, all right, whatever. But, and some people are not going to get the science fiction side of Green Lantern, because we haven't had a science fiction Green Lantern for a long time. We've had standard comic hero stuff, which is fine, but it's a certain type of writing. And when you get into science fiction and you're talking about societal issues and stuff, it gets a little bit, I won't say convoluted, but it can be dry reading for someone who's used to comics that are just superhero punch outs.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of people are having a difficult time with it.
Yeah, I mean, I must be, once again, someone who tries scheduling people. I've tried to get Jemison on an interview for a long time, been rejected multiple times, but I would love to talk to her about it. And like I said, I think the thing about writing, you can often see, just because you don't like it, you can also sometimes, though, you may not enjoy the series, but you can see the quality of the writing itself. When you read the Solar Sector, you can see the quality. You can see that there's a lot of layers to it. It's not reaching me at the moment. But at the same time, once again, I don't have to be the audience, and that's okay. There's enough comic books out there that if that issue didn't work for you, go to something else. I don't understand the bitterness of saying that one doesn't speak to me, you bastards. It's like, you know what?
I think for me, I think part of it, like I said, with Chuck. I mean, Chuck was not this way with Comicsgate until Gail Simone opened her mouth on her Twitter account and said, "Whatever happened to Chuck Dixon?" And I'm like, "What the hell, Gail? He's got 6 titles out." At the time, he had Alien Legion with Larry Stroman on over at Titan. He had G.I. Joe and his own Winter World series at IDW. He was writing Simpsons comics and SpongeBob SquarePants comics, and he had Black Tiger with Graham Nolan for India Graphics. And she's like, she's like, "Whatever happened to Chuck Dixon?" I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But the thing is, she's a big name, popular person. And they're like, all the fans are like, "Well, yeah, whatever happened to him? He's not writing Batman characters or Punisher anymore. That's all I knew him for," type thing. And of course he got mad and said, "Well, part of the reason I'm not working for DC is because I wrote the Clinton Cash adaptation, and I'm conservative. They don't like me." Well, that may or may not be true, but the point isn't so much that you're not working on Batman anymore. It's that why is someone who is working on characters for DC saying anything negative about you when you're putting your fair share in the market? I think that's what started him on down that path, unfortunately. And I think that's what's happening to a lot of people. It's like, well, whatever happened to so-and-so? Well, is it because they were conservative? Or no, it has to do with, different people, different management people want different individuals they want to work with. And, you're saying a lot of it is about dollars, and some of it is about the dollars, but it's also about who's friends with who and who they want to work with, unfortunately. Well, that's my experience with having worked.
Don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you have a good experience with a certain writer or artist, you're going to continue that relationship.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just think I just kind of, anyone who thinks any kind of hiring because the person is maybe transgender.
No, they're not hiring. No, we're not hiring because we need B% black or Q% queer. Or,
right.
Yeah.
I don't think, the idea that things are diversity hiring, I don't agree with that as a concept. Mm-hmm. What companies do, and rightly so, they look at who do I think will bring in the dollars in the audience. And I do think comic books, because we are such a smart market, should be bringing in other markets into the industry. It's good for all of us. If you can bring in, more women into the comic book world, that's fantastic. They're 52% of the population of the world. You can get, them being 50% of the industry of buying comics. Mm-hmm. That amount of sales you would increase by, it would be tremendous. And that helps me out. Every time if you can get in 10 million women, 5 of them may buy one of my comics. Maybe
they will, maybe they won't. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, though. They'll say there's no women in comics, and I'll say, really? Wham! Here's 70 women who work in comics. Now, why aren't you promoting these women and their products? Because they're not working on Superman or Batman or X-Men or whatever. And it's like, the comics world is bigger than just these corporate character franchises.
Yeah.
And we need to learn how to represent the art form as a whole. And that's, we try to do that as podcasters. I don't know what your experiences in comic shops are, but I see the retailers marketing basically the franchises.
Yeah.
And I understand the logic of it. I mean, it's less work. If I can hook you on Batman, you're going to buy Batman, Detective, Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, Catgirl, whatever, potentially. But the thing is, there's a flip side to that. And if I don't like something in that line of titles, I might quit buying all that entire line of books. And then what else have you marketed to me? Nothing.
Right. And I agree with you on that. I mean, once again, I sympathize with the comic book stores. Once again, they're in a risk-reward type of system. And obviously, there's so many comic books that are out there. You go with what you think is the safe bets. And unfortunately, safe bets, are going to be your Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, blah, 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 blah. But it would be nice to get Malek in the stores and Shark Bro and throw into the stores. And it becomes, but for them, they look at it as the risk. Fans don't know you. And I think a lot of that comes out to, I think this is speculation on my part. So just, I'm not trying to, I know, but it's definitely speculation.
Your opinion.
I think some of this happened, I think, during the 90s as well, where when there was the boom, we also realized certain things as fans. Small market comic books usually don't finish for some reason. The story goes 1, 2, 3, maybe, and then maybe you'll get a 5th or 6th. Maybe you'll get it in 10 years from now. It will finally happen. And I noticed a lot when Image first started. The release schedules were horrible. They were not consistent. Storylines ended abruptly. Series ended abruptly with no warning, or they come back a year later. You're like, I can't remember what the hell happened. I think people lost faith in small market. That people pick up an issue of Malek that you'll see issue 6 one day. So they assume why buy one issue, not finish a story, and then be screwed for 5 more comics. And I think people lost faith. And not only that, they're also more expensive. I mean, my comic book is going to be it's going to cost more to buy than DC because my print runs are higher. The amount of sales I'm going to have are going to be lower. That's just economics. So I think the average fan has lost faith in indies to some extent. So stores tend to go with what they know. You're going to like Batman because you saw the movie, like the cartoon, blah, 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 blah. And that's what they do. It's not a great long-term plan, but I'm sure this month, next month, the month after, it was a good short-term plan. Except for apparently with DC, which comic books haven't come out in my store for 3 weeks because the new distributor sucks.
I don't know. I've been getting my DC books, but then I don't order any.
The store I go to, we have not seen the DC comic books hit the store in 3 weeks because the distributor hasn't been able to figure out how to get them out yet.
That's weird.
It's rough. I've not bought my DC comic books in 3 weeks.
Because you're in Rhode Island, right?
Rhode Island, yeah, Rhode Island.
Okay, and your distributor is Midtown in New York, right?
I think so. They have not
released. We guys Midtown, and we've been getting the stuff down here in South Carolina, no problem.
Yeah, I've had a luck 3 weeks.
See, that's one of the things about the whole DC Diamond situation with the distribution. I've seen a lot of people in different areas tell me they can't get the DC books, and I'm like, I'm wondering if it's really the distributors or if there's stuff going on at the individual store levels where they're not doing what they need to do to get the books.
Yeah,
because my retailer, Alterna Comics, is also, you got to get it directly from Alterna, and we haven't had Alterna for like 3 months now. And he's like, "Yeah, that's my fault. I keep forgetting. I got to get an account with them and get the books." But at least he's being honest about it, and a lot of retailers go, "Well, no, it's a distributor. It's a distributor. It's a distributor." And it's like,
I mean, obviously, I don't know from my level because I'm not, behind the scenes. I have talked to the owner, as everyone usually does when they're annoyed by something. I guess on some level, I Karen this one and went to the owner. I was like, "What the hell, dude?" But basically, what it came out to, from what my understanding is, basically, Midtown Comic Books was made a distributor with DC like within 2 weeks of having to release some books. I get the feeling they did not make the shift quickly enough everywhere. And like I said, to assume that the transition happened that quickly, I can't imagine it going well, no matter what scenario.
Right.
And, COVID.
Same thing with Midtown or Booner, either one on each coast. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, what people don't realize, though, and I've mentioned this on previous episodes, is that DC was always planning on leaving Diamond.
Yeah.
And it was just the way they did it and the manner they did it was kind of I wish they had taken more time to set it up before they departed. But, this has been something that's been talked about for 2 years behind the scenes at DC. And people just don't realize that this was going to happen regardless. Everybody thinks, no, they were going to be with Diamond. No, because they weren't getting what they wanted out of Diamond on a lot of levels.
I can totally see that. I mean, once again, it's not even DC. AT&T, the moment they, they do what AT&T wants to do. And unfortunately, they acted, in my opinion, impulsively instead of really plotting this out and going, there are a 6-month plan on how to do this. They decided, all right, it's COVID. No, comics are not being shipped. No one's looking. Let's just do this, kind of thing.
Well, I think that the plan was to announce in July at San Diego Con that they were leaving Diamond and give the retailers 6 months and start in 2021. That was the original plan.
Yeah.
And then when Diamond pulled this, it wasn't so much that Diamond stopped delivering, it was that they stopped paying the vendors for product. And there's been a history of, well, is Diamond even going to pay us, or are they just going to fold shop? Because of the history that DC had concerns for the last couple of years. And that's why they said, well, we'll just pull the trigger and do it this way. And it wasn't the right way, but, it is what it is.
And I do agree with that. And I think it's not good. These are the things people worry about, diversity hires, all this other stuff. It's this crap that messes up an industry right here.
Yep.
This is the stuff that kills it.
Okay, let's go ahead and go on to the next question. And that is from Angela. And last week I mentioned I was watching Stargirl now, and she wanted to know if I had caught up with the show yet. No, I haven't. I'm not going to catch up with it. As far as watching all the stuff in the back episodes, I'll wait till I get the DVD. I watch it usually on Sundays on the rerun episode of it, but so far it's okay. I have no complaints about the show. Do you watch Stargirl?
So far, I've seen the first 2 episodes of it.
Mm-hmm.
The others are recorded on DVR, and one day my wife will get around to watching them with me, and we'll watch them. But it looks, it looks like at least they put money in it, which is nice. There's maybe more money than CW is getting right now, at least for the first 2 episodes. It kind of reminds me of when you were watching the first few episodes of Legends of Tomorrow, when they were using Firestorm and actually letting Firestorm be Firestorm, and then later on they just found excuses not to have him become Firestorm. My question is, do you do the same thing now with Stargirl, where over time that Stripes, he just quietly will find excuses for it not to be in the show. So, but for now the money's in the show, and it's not bad. It looks like it could have potential one day if I get around to the other 5 or 6 episodes that are out there.
Yeah. Okay, our next question is from Paul Mazurik. He asks, I was wondering if you would ever consider doing something like what Tom Brevoort's doing on his blog with the editorial simulator game, as in run one or participate as a player in one. Let me see if I can find what he's talking about real quick. I think I know where that's at. Maybe. There we go. I got to share the screen with it real quick. And what he's talking about is it's like fantasy football, but for comics. And he's basically running this game where it's on his personal blog, and he lets 5 players act as group editors. There's 3 group editors at Marvel, 1 at DC, and 1 at Image Comics, with the goal of successfully managing their titles commercially and critically. The goal of your players of the course of the next 2 weeks is to increase your sales, put out crowd-pleasing, well-produced comic books, meet your financial obligations to respective companies, and get books out on time. As editor, you can try anything you can think of, more or less, provided that the actions get approved by the brain trust of your respective organizations, which is played by me. In other words, if he doesn't like what you want to do, you're not getting anywhere anyway. All moves will be played out and posted here on this site on a weekly basis, which is his personal blog site. Nothing at stake other than the opportunity to get some insight into the process as to how things operate editorially within the industry. That's fine. I don't know. Personally, I'm not that keen on it. I don't like playing fantasy stuff like that per se. I almost look like it, like he's like, well, what do other these people think, and take their ideas and do it themselves later. If anybody actually had any good ideas that they actually liked, and say, hey, that actually might work. But a group editor is not the same as running DC or Marvel, and Image doesn't have a group editor. It's just what's his name?
Eric Stevenson?
Yeah, Eric Stevenson and a couple of other people approve or not approve. There's no group per se that I know of. I mean, I guess there's a group. I guess Kirkman has a group editor for the Skybound line, and maybe Top Cow, but those aren't Image. They're imprints within Image. That's not the same thing. So I don't really know. I don't think I would participate in that. As far as running a thing, I'd rather just see, okay, you're in charge of Marvel. What would you do? Who do you want on what books and why?
Yeah.
That's what I would say as far as that goes. And, a lot of these people who are going to pitch these ideas and stuff, when we talk about this, a lot of them are going to pick their fan favorites. They want stuff that they remembered. Some people are going to want Claremont and X-Men again. And I'm going to be like, as an editorial consultant, yes. As writer, no. He had 17 years. He got to say what he wanted to say mostly. But if I sat down with Chris and put him in charge editorially with him and Louise Simonson, and try and get the stories, I don't want to say revert it back to when they were the writers, but get the premise of what it was supposed to be. I think we've lost the premise of what X-Men is supposed to be about over the years. That's just my opinion. But and I'd probably cut the titles down so there wouldn't be a bunch of them. But then again, we're would Marvel approve of that? No, because that's their cash cow. They wouldn't approve of that. So it'd be like, but if I'm in charge of Marvel, so like I said, group editors only have so much power. So
I mean, honestly, if you have the time to play fantasy comic books, make your own fucking comic book. I mean, seriously, make your own. That should be your takeaway. If you got time to play, do something yourself.
Yep. That sounds like a reasonable answer to me. Let's see what else we got. We got more questions, I'm sure. I just got to get them shared on the screen. Let's see. And Joe asks if I'm going to have Riley Brown back on the show. Yes, we are going to have Riley Brown back on the show to talk about Outrage, and we're going to have other artists and writers for talking about Webtoon program and format for the comics in a future episode. I don't know exactly when yet. I've got to just keep working on getting everybody coordinated and on the show. So that's that quick answer for that. So if you guys viewers have questions, email them to QuothTheRaven@lbr72@gmail.com. Subject QTR questions, and please indicate whether or not you want your name or locale read on air. And you said you had getting ready to head out, right, Jeffrey?
Indeed.
Okay. I want to thank our second guest for the evening, Jeffrey Haas, writer of Malek, Devil's Reign. And again, you can get that book on indieplanet.com. And just, if they just go indieplanet.com and type in Malek, MALEK, you'll come to the page. You can download the digital version for 99 cents or order a print-on-demand copy for $4.25.
Make sure to buy multiple copies.
Hey, yeah. And you also had a podcast. You said you do.
Yeah. We do a podcast, a new episode every weekday called Spoiler Country. Spoiler Country. We have had guests like non-visitor from Star Trek, Deep Space Nine on our show. Julian Richings from Supernatural. We talked to Walt Simonson, Jim Starlin, a lot of big guests. So if you want to talk about comic pros or celebrities, come find Spoiler Country. There's going to be a new episode every weekday. They're all recorded, so you can go on the website, scpod.net, and go searching for your favorite comic pro. I'll wager we talk to them.
Cool.
At some point.
Very cool. Well, then we'll probably invite you back on again. Maybe talk a little bit more about your podcast as well, or maybe I'll come on your show.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep. Have a good night.
You as well.
Okay. We're in about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes into the show. And we're going to go ahead and go into our reviews, as I usually do. And we'll start with, oops, didn't want to do it right. That figures. Hold on a second. Alrighty. And, okay, there we go. Sorry, folks. Just trying to get, there we go. All We Ever Wanted is a trade paperback graphic novel, our anthology book. Its publisher is A Wave Blue World. It's $19.99. The genre is science fiction, and should say utopian, not uptopian futures. The ISBN is 978-1-949-518-07-8. This was a Microringo Award nominee series. And the anthology series features 24 stories, each one tackling the idea of confirmation that hope is not lost on humanity. There is a wide range of visions and art styles and presentation of what hope is, what it can be, and the editors did a fine job of intertwining the collection into a whole, in my opinion. Definitely deserved the award nomination it received. It's recommended for ages 15 and up. I gave it 4.5 stars. And here's one of the artwork scenes. I'll be right back. And this artwork is by Dean Tripp. And this is just one of the storylines. And this is artwork by Tess Fowler and Gabriel or Gab Contreras from the same book. And this is the actual book right here. You can see it's relatively thick series. I'll show you a little bit more of the artwork. The one right here is a story written by comics veteran Howard Mackey is in this, drawn by Ryan Lee. It wasn't clearing out. There we go. Ryan Lee, lettered by Taylor Esposito. One of the other stories. Like I said, there's 24 stories. They got a lot of different writers and artists in this. Let me go real quick through who's in this that you might know. Let's see. Got Rich Dulick, David Stoll, Juan Romana, a lot of different writers. Justin Zimmerman, Ethan Clonch, Nadia Sheamus, Josh Gorfin, Taylor Hoffman, a lot of different artists and writers, Matt Miner, Jenny Wood, Eric Palicki, quite a few of the independent scene talent. I think Howard Hatmacky was probably the highest profile creator, but certainly an entertaining artist and collection of stories. I'm going to be right back. Have to check on something downstairs. Sorry about that, folks. Had a kitty interjection, I guess you could say. He decided to run up and down the stairs, and when he went back down the stairs, he went too far and ran his head smack into the wall. Poor thing. Anyway, our next book is Cane Corps, trade paperback, 1995. The publisher is Ad House Books. The writer-artist is Matthew Allison. The genre is kind of a superhero science fiction horror book. It's been released. This version was released in July 2020, as far as I know, but it's been released as a individual issues in the underground scene for quite some time. This collection from Ad House Books was released in July of this year. 978-1-935-233-53-4. And what it's about is an aspiring comics and commercial artist with anxiety issues has an existential journey through the eyes of one of his characters after he gets beaten up at a bar during a concert, and self-examining different aspects of himself through the character. It's a little confusing. The narrative doesn't exactly come out and say what's happening. There's a lot of non-textual pages, and while the visuals are well done, it's a lot of vague metaphorical representation going on. It's just not spelled out for you. So some readers might not get it at first reading or until they read the creator's notes through the story at the back of the book. Recommended for ages 16 up. I gave it 4 stars. And we're going to take a quick look at the pages I got from the PDF. It starts out in black and white. And none of the characters have eyes or noses to speak of. It's kind of a, interesting drawings. I like the stylization of it. It's definitely a mature reader's book. There's language in it and stuff like that. The artist goes to the concert, and that's when he sees that this is his artwork that they used with a different band that without his permission to promote their flyers for their band. And so he's ticked off, and then the band's doing things on their own. And he says the reason I chose not to bring copies was that I was afraid the guys on stage would think his art was corny and wouldn't be doing it. Now he thinks people are out to get him because the other band stole his artwork, and now he's in this mosh pit, and he starts in a fight. And they break him, punch him in the face, his glasses and everything. And here is Kankor, the hero, who just stands there watching. And as you can see, Kankor is in color, whereas everything else is in black and white. And it starts to shift up as he asks for help, and he goes into this existential existence. I don't want to give the whole thing away. There's different things that go on with the writer's experiences and stuff. And I happen to just really like the art style of Allison's work. Again, I'll go back to some of this more existential stuff he's doing here. He's pulling out a Batman mask out of the mountain here. And that's partly because he, as a artist, pitched a Batman sequel to The Dark Knight Returns or something like that. And he mentions this in the notes, and it's, kind of a statement that does the artist, does the work and the lack of work define us and stuff like that is there. So. I really did enjoy the storyline. Again, it's a little bit deep, philosophical product, and again, so this is the cover. It doesn't have the name Kankor on it. It's only on the side spine of the book. This is the image you'll get if you get it from Ad House Books. Okay. Our next book is Canopus #4 from Scout Comics, who we've been talking about quite a bit tonight because of METALSHARK BRO also being from Scout. It's $3.99. This is the last issue of the series. The writer-artist is David Chisholm. Genre is science fiction. It was released July 22nd. Dr. Sterling finally comes to the realization of her plight. She died on the planet in the crash decades, maybe centuries ago, but is constantly being rebuilt by the planet with her memory wiped clean. Arthur can only watch as his creator goes through this torturous realization and that the planet and her are bonded psychically. What can and will she do to bring this madness to an end? Final issue of the series has a solid conclusion that is positive in tone. Chisholm does a really nice homage to Stanislaw Lem's Solaris novel in the series, but it also makes its own story. Recommended for ages 13 up. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Let's take a look at the art. This is where she's starting to realize that that's the heart, her heart, that she's basically got in her hand. and she's finally realizing that, there isn't, what's going on? Why am I not dead? What's going on? And Arthur takes her and shows her this whole cavern of her bodies that have been died off. And reality is she's actually being reborn, but she's built from the planet's construction, kind of like the Solaris figures were in that book. Now, I don't want to give away the ending of the story. It's very, it's nice. It's not sad. It's not as eerie as Solaris was. It has a nice positive vibe to it because Helen figures out how to do something with her situation that benefits her and Arthur, as opposed to kind of losing her sense of self and losing her mind the way some of the other characters did in the Solaris book. Which, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about by Solaris was a science fiction novel written by Russian author Stanislaw Lem in the 60s. And it has been made into a movie. You may have seen the movie. It had George Clooney in it. And if you've seen that movie or if you read that book, you'll see similarities with this comic. But like I said, it goes in his... David Chisholm, the writer for Canopus, goes in his own direction with it. Our next book this week is The Only Living Boy, The Complete Saga Omnibus from Paper Cuts, $24.99. The writer is David Gallagher. The artist is Steve Ellis. The genre is fantasy. Released August 14th, 2018. I just got the most recent edition, ISBN 978-1-54580-126-0. And what it's about is Eric Farrell, a boy of 12 who lives in New York City, wakes up under a rock in a strange world with only a stuffed bear backpack as a companion. The last thing he remembers is running away and hiding. But from what? He doesn't know. Eric's story is wrapped in an even larger arc that culminates in an epic battle. He is the only remaining human in what was once a thriving city. Along the way, he picks up a ragtag team of friends, including Morgan, a green-hued mermaid person, Thea, a Sectorian princess, and Cleef, a warrior. They're united in their desire to end, not toned, to end the reign of Balakar, who's a demonic creature who threatens to destroy Camerica, which is a piece of land that looks suspiciously like Manhattan, and kill as many of its citizens as possible. In the middle of all this madness, Eric slowly begins to regain his memories thanks to the Myrmidian scientists and the evil Dr. Wants. And it's recommended for ages 10 and up, and it has a 4 stars out of 5 rating. This is the art by Steve Ellis. This is the very beginning when he's running away from whatever he's running away from. I'm not going to give you the hint on that. And my computer's being slow for some reason. There we go. He's out in the park, Central Park or whatever, I'm guessing, or at least in some sort of one of the parks around New York. And he finds this big rock to get out from under the rain. And there's this big kid's backpack. That's the bear backpack. And I'm not sure what these things are here, if they're cans or something else. I don't want to give out too much more information. But he goes to sleep with this little bear backpack, and he wakes up, and then he's in the new world. Our next book is our classic of the week, and that is the Star Slimers Complete Edition for $49.99. Publisher is IDW Publishing. Writer-artist is Walter Simonson. Genre is science fiction adventures. It was originally released in May of 2015. ISBN number 978-1-63140-230-2. And what it's about, once upon a time, there was a race of men who could outshoot, outfight, and outkill anybody. They were paid fabulous sums of money to act as mercenaries. This practice became so lucrative, they decided to go into business and become the most successful business in history. They called themselves the Star Slammers. This edition collects all the stories going back from the 1970s through the 1990s in one volume. Recommended for ages 14 and up, 4 stars out of 5. Here's some of Arthur's artwork from it. And this is like the first introduction. The Star Slammers were called in to take care of some people, and they did. Only 3 members of this whole group took out a whole battalion of soldiers. And the reason I picked that particular book for our classic of the week is if you actually get a chance to see this book, you get to see the actual product that Walter did while he was still working in college. He wasn't even a professional artist yet. He had done this particular Star Slammers book, originally called Space Slammers, as part of a campaign for a convention for the World Science Fiction Convention to have it in Washington, D.C. in 1974, which succeeded. They actually did have that convention. And a big part of it was because of his marketing plan with this particular project. And then it later became a one-shot graphic novel through the Marvel Graphic Novels program around 85 or so. And then he did a one-shot at Dark Horse, and then he did another Star Slammers series with Malibu when they did the Bravura line. It didn't quite finish there because Bravura had problems, and he finished it at Dark Horse. And that was around, I want to say, 98 or 99. So to have it collected again in 2015, I didn't get it originally when it first came out. I just happened to come across it recently at my local comic shop, and I thought, hey, let me get that, because I never got to read all of them. And I was very pleased with it. You get to see Walter's artwork evolve from a very young stage in his career all the way through to I won't say his prime years, but when he was very popular. I think his prime came after his popularity started to wane a little bit, but that's just my opinion. But anyway, that is our classic for the week, and hopefully you guys can find that. And that is our reviews for this week. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys all know that, again, this is a show that, in accordance with the COPPA regulations, was intended for 16 and up. And while some of the content we will feature is kid-friendly, and the context of our episode is to address adults and inform them of said content as research, as consumers in service of the youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. And as always, there is the possibility of language present on the episode as well. We are rated TV 16 and up. You can reach me on Facebook at Louis.BrightRaven, at DeviantArt at deviantart.com/BrightRaven, here on YouTube at QuothTheRavenLouisBright-Raven, at Gmail at QuothTheRavenLBR72@gmail.com, or if you must, at Yahoo at LouisBright-Raven@yahoo.com. The podcast usually airs on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, actually, we may have another show this week. I don't know yet. Depends on how fast I get things done. But we have a lot of stuff going on. And next week, we're going to try to get, I mentioned earlier that I wanted to try to get Walter on for Webtoons or something like that. I'm trying to get certain people on with Riley Brown and Fabian Nicieza and others. And hopefully we'll get that scheduled. I don't know if it'll be next week or the week after that. And it might be next. It might be no later than mid-August, but we're going to try for next week or the week after. Okay. If not, then we'll have some other guests. It depends on who's available when. Okay. I want to thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next week.